Good day, Brigadier Sushil Bhasin. Very nice to have you online with us today.
Thank you very much, Nara. It's a great pleasure for me to be with you today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ever since I've heard you speaking many months ago on online, and I was so impressed with your entire repertoire of knowledge, the way you carried yourself online in the digital area. I think they call it digital presence, and I must say you were pretty much captivating.
Thank
So
you. Thank you very much for saying that. It's an honor to be hearing that. Yes, I have realized that the importance of uh, online has been growing, and whatever is happening today would have in any case happened after maybe 5, 7 years. But
mhm,
this COVID has come and catapulted us at least
right,
5 to 7 years forward.
right.
So whatever would have happened, let's say in 2025, 2027 has started happening now because we were forced globally to go into our homes and then there was no other way of communicating and then virtual connections became the only option.
Yes.
So that has made us do a lot of things which primarily give us the importance of virtual engagements.
Yes, yes. And the thing which perhaps struck me so much, and I don't know whether this is a scenario which it could have been felt by me, I'm not sure, but sometimes people say the digital era or the digital arena is best managed by millennials and Gen X or Gen Y, for example. And of course, this has no bearing to age. But what I mean is the way that you are so adept. So it makes that you are so versatile and flexible that you have got a very good grip on all of the digital media and this thing. So how did you get so involved, engrossed, and engaging?
I don't really know how it happened, but it happened. It was 1994. I was posted in J&K in a place called Udhampur, and I just felt that I should have a computer.
Okay.
Now, I'm talking of a desktop. I'm talking of something like black and white screen. A monitor was black and white. I had a Dotmatics printer. It used to do.
I remember those days. Yes.
So I said I want to buy a computer, and a computer that time was costing about 40,000 rupees, and
Okay.
that was big money. And
Yes.
particularly for us in the army, where
Yes.
I think my salary was about that much. It was like 1 month's salary or something like that. I don't remember. So there's a friend of mine, and he was from the Signals. He was a technically qualified guy. He had been to Hungary to do a course and all that. So he asked me, "Why do you want to be on the computer?" And I said, "Just like that, He said, "What will you do with it?" So I said, "Okay, I'll do my letters. I'll do my database." He said, "How many databases?" I said, I send about 1,000 greeting cards. So that is my database.
Wow.
So he said,
Okay.
"Just 1,000? 1,000 is not good enough. And what do you do? You do letters. Why don't you buy electronic typewriter to type letters?" He came out with all types of things to tell me that I was not investing into something good.
I see.
And I just told him, I said, "I don't know the reason, but I want a computer. I just want it." So he came with the definition. He
Okay.
said, "Computer is a machine that handles complex data of high magnitude. Your data is neither complex nor high magnitude. Why would you need a computer?" And
Okay.
then when I insisted, he said, "Okay, then you buy a, what is it called? 236 or something." And I
Yes. Two
wanted a
eight six. Two eight six.
286. 286. He
Yes.
said, "Buy a 286." And I wanted a 386. Okay.
Okay.
And he insisted, he said, "You're wasting your money. You don't need a 386." I happened to be going on leave, and at Pathankot, I went to the train stop there, and I went to the bookstall, and I picked up a magazine, and there were 2 or 3 computer magazines, and one of them on the cover said, "Which computer should you buy?" Question mark. I said, "That's the magazine I want."
Okay.
And in my journey, I read that, and I got two very clear things. He said, if you are buying a computer, never ever buy a 286 because 286 is not upgradable.
Okay.
386 is upgradable, 486 is already coming. So if you buy a 486. I bought a 486. I bought a 486, but it still came with the black and white monitor, the dot matrix printer, and all that. And I started working on it. Okay, I still remember I used to work on. There was no Word, so I was using Lotus, and I was using, what is that, something for PowerPoint used to be called some storyboard.
Storyboard.
Okay,
Okay.
I still remember all those things. So we did that, and then I went to Delhi. And Delhi, in my neighbor's place, there was a little boy, and he fascinated by saying, "Uncle, are you using Windows?"
Okay.
So I said,
Okay.
"Windows? Like, I have a lot of Windows in my house." He says, "No, no, I'm talking about Windows on the computer." I
Okay.
said, "No, no, I don't know. I thought there were some gaps in some computer where there would be some Windows." He said, "No, no, it's a software." And I didn't even understand what software was. So anyway, the whole story is to say that I am a self-learned person from there.
Okay.
I got the Windows. I bought 32 floppies from the market, and he
Right.
copied those floppies for me, and I took them to the poor, installed them. And then that friend of mine, he didn't know what were Windows, and he was supposed to be highly qualified on computers. So I gave him my floppies. And
Okay.
then what happened in those floppies, there were some personal files which went viral because he gave it to somebody else gave it
Oh,
to somebody else, and everyone started copying those files, and my personal files were also being copied.
wow.
So we had some humorous
Yes.
issues on that.
Right. Right. Right.
Okay, so then, and also I went on to Facebook. I started Facebook from Orkut, and people say, "How are you interested in Orkut? Only children do it."
Mm.
But Nara, telling you, I've been on Facebook from the time it started. I was on Orkut, and then I was on Twitter, and my children's friends used to say that our father doesn't even know T of Twitter, and I see your father so active on Twitter. So I have been, it was just a natural instinct,
Yeah.
uh, and I was a social guy. I've done now a lot of my work on social media. I still feel when I talk to people who are good at it, I feel I'm way behind.
Mm.
But then there are some other people who make me feel I'm forward. But yes,
Right.
I'm very adaptive.
Yeah.
I look for the latest technology that I can borrow. I keep trying a lot of experiments on my laptop, and I spend a
Yeah.
lot of, I think my whole day is spent on my laptop.
I'm, I must say that I was so impressed with the story which you mentioned. I know from what I know of you that you have been in the army for so long, 35 years, if I'm not mistaken,
34,
and
yeah, 34 years, yeah.
34 years. And I'm thinking, I want to ask you about that, but I'm thinking that there must have, that whole journey of that 34 years must have always kept you on your toes and must have always kept you in a situation of fluidity, of flexibility. And maybe that is what is actually bringing you to where you are now. But let me ask you that. Tell me about your time in the army and how it was. What were your
So,
experiences there?
yeah, if somebody says, what is the best thing that happened to you in your life? I say NDA. So, even you see on my lapel pin, this lapel here.
NDA,
This is
yes.
NDA. Okay. For me, like that was the best thing that happened in my life. And I think joining the army was probably the best thing that happened. I just loved the army life. It was a life which was very valuable. There were very good, very healthy traditions. There was good discipline, and I got into discipline right in the childhood because I went to a Scenic school, which is a military school, and then from there I went to NDA, IMA, and then to the army. So for me, very early in childhood, did I learn the importance of routine, of time,
Mhm.
of sticking to time, being punctual. Those became like your DNA. And
Okay.
I found life in the army was adventurous. It was very social. There were some bondings. There were some values of the army which I relished the most. And not only me, I think my children, my wife, everyone has enjoyed the army culture.
Mm.
And it is that culture in the army that really makes you a different person. Your thinking becomes different, your behavior, your conduct, your values in life, when you see life and death so closely, not
Right.
only your own, but when you see your, when you see your own friends, your own colleagues, your own jawans die in front of you, it gives you the value of human life so much more than what it does in a normal civil life.
Right. Right. Yeah, I can. I mean, I'm already feeling some goosebumps
Yeah.
from what you are telling me, and I can imagine that the rapport that you have or create with your colleagues in the forces. I think that must be a.
And I'll tell you, I take pride in one thing.
Mm,
Many of my friends and colleagues would say, and they would probably have a file with a thick file which say, these are my letters from my seniors,
mm,
somebody who wrote a letter of, we call DO letters, demi-official letters. So those are some things which people keep as a big prize. And they say with pride, oh, I got a letter from so-and-so general, I got a letter from so-and-so brigadier, and they preserve them.
yes.
I have a file in which I preserved my Jawan's letters. My
Wow.
soldiers who have been writing to me, even now I've completed 15 years of retirement. And Nara, I have some people. No, I have a person who was my buddy, a Jawan, whose son I looked after, and he's an officer now.
Wow.
Now that person rings me up almost once a week. Even this morning he had rung up, and he'll ask me how are you and all. If somebody who is still communicating with you on telephone, writing letters to you after 15 years, I think it means a lot that the rapport you create with your soldiers, with your
Yes.
people you serve. And
Yeah.
if that is a type of uh, pride they have for you, if that is a type of respect they have for you, that they still write to you and say that, sir, you made a great difference in my life,
Right.
that is
Exactly.
something which is
Exactly.
so, no amount of money, no millions of dollars can give you that type of feeling that you
Right.
get.
True. And
So
you know
I've been
the.
doing a program, just to intervene.
Yes.
I've been doing a program which I call Battlefield to Boardroom,
Okay.
which I've been doing in the corporate world, where there are some very simple methods, very, very simple tools or simple processes that we follow in the army, and they're so easily translatable to the corporate world. And when I tell this to people and they say, sir, why don't we do in the corporate like this? I say, you tell me, why don't you do it? I can't tell you. So whatever, because Sun Tzu said that whatever is the art of war,
Yes.
it's easily applicable in the corporate life as well.
Yes.
And there's lots and lots of lessons that one can learn from the army, which
Yeah.
can be applied in the corporate environment, particularly when it comes to leadership, it comes to teamwork, it comes to trust, it comes to bonding, it comes to communications. There are so many of the procedures, so many of the tools that we use are absolutely replicable in the corporate world.
That's wonderful. When you were talking about your experiences, and until now, people still communicate with you. I must give you an example of, in my case, where my father, when he retired from his first employment at the age of 55, the day after that, someone came and asked him to help manage a scholarship fund board. And then from that age of 55, he worked until 92 in that scholarship fund, and that really kept him going. He would take two buses to go to that place and work, etc. But really what kept him going was seeing those students, interviewing them, arranging the scholarship for them, and then chasing them when they are not paying up, and etc., advising, mentoring, guiding. That really kept him going. And people would have retired, have children, and they would still come back and thank him for all the support that he gave them. So that reminded me just now what you mentioned. So I can
Absolutely.
imagine the love. Actually, it transcends into love, not just colleague or anybody else in the process, but it actually transcends into love. So I can really imagine that. The other thing which now you were in training, you were also trainer in the armed forces. You were actually imparting a lot of knowledge, but at the same time you're also learning. Tell me about that. That's a very interesting thing. Like it reminds me of the tide going in and coming back, etc. The ebb and flow of the tide. So, how is it in your case where you are actually training people, but at the same time you are also learning so much? How does that happen?
Nara, when I realized very early in life that every army officer by default is a trainer,
Mm.
because every officer, wherever he may be in the postal department, he could be a dental surgeon. Everyone in the army is training his troops for war in peacetime.
Right.
Therefore, every army officer by default is a trainer,
Right.
right?
Right.
Some of us get an extra opportunity of being instructors in training establishments.
Mm.
And I've been very lucky that way. So I was an instructor 3 times as a captain itself. And then I became instructor as a senior officer. Uh, I commanded a training establishment later when I used to have about 120 instructors under me, and we used to do 3,000 students a year.
Huge.
I commanded an establishment in Bangalore called the Army School of Mechanical Transport.
Okay.
So I have been an instructor. I've been a commandant of a training establishment. I've been in the faculty of studies in the Army War College. And then on top of that, I've also been in the Army Training Command, where, you get absolutely a bird's eye view,
Right.
absolutely a macro view of the training. Because when I started with the basic micro level, grassroots level training of training recruits in
Right.
a regimental center. And for those who may not know, a recruit is a person who is actually a villager brought into conversion into a soldier. So when you convert a villager into a soldier, that is a recruit.
Yes.
And that is a basic training. And I used to be the WTO, which is weapon training officer, and PTO, which is physical training officer in that center. So I started my training at the grassroots level in 1971 when I just commissioned. And when I was in the Army Training Command, now we were responsible for formulating training doctrine for the Indian Army. So, I have done it from the bottom of the ladder to the top of the ladder.
Right. Right.
And this has given me a very good perspective. Second is that I have also trained in all environments. So I have commanded a battalion in deserts. So I've laid out a desert driving track. I used to do desert driving training and all that. I was a second in command in a mountain battalion. So I got to know mountain warfare very well. And mountain training I did. So I've done all this. I was in Assam, I've done jungles, I've done mountains, I've done plains, I've done deserts. So all terrain. Then, in the army, you did classroom training, you did outdoor training, you did outdoor training with troops, without troops. So as a result, I've had a training perspective, which
Mm.
very, very few people are lucky.
Very
Even
nice.
in the army, not many officers are as lucky as I was to get exposed to these
Correct.
varying training environments.
Yes. Yes. And I've seen you, in the training arena. So I'm just imagining back, those years, how you were imparting the knowledge and guiding them, and transforming, as you said, from a villager now to coming
I
into a
can I
recruit.
can tell you with pride
Yeah.
that particularly when I got my first instructional appointment in ASMT, when I was I think I should have been, I was 25 or 26 that time, and I was a young captain. I became an instructor. Now, I used to run a class of about 32. Normally, average strength was about 30. So could be 32, could be 28 officers, and at least 50%, at least if not more, were senior to me. And now in the army, to be an instructor and teaching officers were senior to you, where hierarchy matters a lot, it was a great challenge. But when I used to come after class and then you came out and you had a tea break or you're meeting people informally, these senior officers senior to me, when they said, Sushil, I think you are an excellent instructor. And that used to give you such a great feel. And I commanded their respect despite being junior to them.
Right,
And
right.
that was a very spectacular feeling that I used to get.
Yes, yes.
And therefore, training became very challenging for me. And let me share an incident with you. Because I was dealing with vehicles, ASMT was Army School of Mechanical Transport. So they, in a Shaktiman vehicle, which is one of our main 3-ton vehicles, load carrier vehicles, there was something called a switch contact relay. And a switch contact relay used to, in the Shaktiman, there are 2 batteries. And you need to put them into parallel when you have to start the vehicle, and after, so that you get more power to start the vehicle, and then you put them in series. So there's a switch contact relay which connects which changes the parallel connection to series connection. Now it's a complicated, very complicated little equipment, and you catch it in your hand and you're teaching it to your students. So one day I was having a cup of tea with a senior trainer and senior instructor. And then I suddenly looked at my watch and I said, sir, I think it's time for me to go for my class. So he said, what's the class? I said, switch contact relay. He said, don't worry, even if you take 5 minutes more, in any case, whatever you teach, nobody's going to understand. It's such a complicated thing. So, I told him, because I told him in Hindi, I said, say, the toheen hai instructor, it's a disgrace to an instructor if he can't teach well.
Yes.
Let me tell you, in my class, everyone understands switch contact relay. I make it so simple.
Right. Yeah.
Then I said, I'm leaving, but if you want to see, come and see how I conduct my class. He came and he saw that I got the class out of their chairs. They'd come in front. I made them stand in a little semicircle.
Right.
I gave each one of them, I made them into groups of 5 people each. And
yes.
Every group of 5 officers had a switch contact relay with them. And then I first went to the board and explained the series and the parallel connection. What does it mean? Right. And how is it different? Then I told them that this theory is now coming to practice here. How does it do it? Right. And when I explained, then I asked people to repeat, and people repeated. This guy who was senior to me, he said, Sushil, I salute you. I couldn't have taught it so well.
Yeah,
just to prove my point. I still wanted to prove my point. And, when we had the test, the final test, in the final technical test, there used to be a 500 marks paper. 100 marks used to be for one essay type long question. And that was a compulsory question. And then 400 were, there was some short answers and some multiple choice and quiz type, objective types.
Yeah.
I put the switch contact relay as the 100-pointer main question, which was generally not the practice. Right. People would normally have gearbox, or there were some popular questions which used to be put there. Never had anyone dared to put switch contact relay in that, and I did that. And I said, let me see the results. I took the whole bump of the question papers and showed it to him, and I said, sir, please, you mark this for me. You assess these and see whether my people have understood switch contact relay or not. And being a couple of years senior to me, he saluted me. Yes, I salute you. I couldn't have done that. I can't see that everyone has scored more than 60% marks in this question, which I think was difficult.
Yeah.
So now this is one incident of my life, which actually brought my confidence level to a great height. And then I started feeling proud of my instructional ability. And then there was no looking back. Then it was one tenure after another tenure. And then my instructional ability kept improving. And when I came into the corporate world, I still remember that one company, Godrej, they wanted me to do a senior level training. And I thought I can't take senior level because I'd never taught CEO and not taught the first level of reportees of a CEO. So I hired a corporate trainer, a very experienced trainer. And I said, you come and do the training for me and I'll be a co-facilitator with you. And after I finished that program, I realized that I don't need any help from anyone. because that day I realized that even as the guy's CEO, he's about 40 to 45 years of age,
Right.
and I was at that point of time about 58, and I said, I think I know it better than him.
Wonderful.
He may know his job any better, but on leadership and team building, I'll take him on any time. So that was the first and the last time I ever took a corporate trainer's help. Thereafter, I've done about 30 programs, including one of Mercedes, where the MD is there and his first level of trainees are there, first level of reportees are there. And I've done trainings of 30 such companies and
Very
big
good.
companies, Meru cabs and this and that, where the MD was there. And so that confidence of training has been building up and on. And today I feel like a very confident trainer. I went to Mercedes, one of their car dealers asked me to do a program in Chennai. And I told them, I gave them a proposal and I said, I can do this training for you. They had to sell a very challenging, I still remember, they had to sell 837 cars and in a year. That was a target given to them. And the entire team was of the opinion it can't be done. So I told them, okay, I'll make it happen. You give me 10 sessions, one every month. And after 10 months, if you don't sell 837 cars, don't pay me a penny. And they were so impressed by my confidence that I'm prepared to do 10 sessions without taking the money. I said, pay me only when you sell 837 cars. Because I don't teach for knowledge, I teach for results.
Right. Right.
So it has been a great journey. There have been lots of ups and downs. There have been a lot of challenges. It has been an interesting, rewarding journey, but not an easy journey by any chance.
I can imagine. I can really imagine.
Yeah.
And it also surprises me that when someone looks at this, and I want to say I am totally interested in the battlefield to the boardroom, that program. I am totally interested because I can imagine some of these things are so evergreen. Like just now you mentioned about Sun Tzu's Art of War, and these could have been knowledge which is over the centuries which we are learning.
Yeah.
They are evergreen because those are blueprints for success that
Because they
any
deal with
corporate must know.
fundamentals.
Yeah.
They deal with fundamentals. Fundamentals
Yes.
never change.
Yes. And
Application may change,
that's right.
but
That's right.
fundamentals don't change. Basics don't
Yes.
change.
Yes. And many corporates do need to know that because the corporate life is over that economic 5 years or 10 years period, 15 years, 20 years. But they need to know this and how to apply it to overcome those challenges. And like I said, I'm so interested to know about that later. I want to ask you just now when you touched on that, and I'm just curious. For example, the knowledge or the training or the transformation that you brought about in the Mercedes organization. Now we're talking about fundamentals of what would have been, let's say, on the battlefield example, and how did you translate that into a sales function and to encourage them to make sure that they meet their target of sales, for
It's
example?
very
With it.
simple.
Yeah.
I start with the end in mind. So the first thing when I talk to a corporate client is I want to know what is the terminal objective. And I ask them to write down and say what is the desired outcome.
Okay.
Then I go a little deep into finding out what is the gap. Why are they not there? What is missing? Is it the discipline that is missing? Is
Right.
it the policies that are missing? What is missing? Is a strategy not in place, or is the implementation not in place? So
Yes.
once you figure out, it's like a doctor who tries to diagnose and find out where the problem is, and then he prescribes the medicine.
Right.
So I used to do training like that, and I've had some spectacular results. And it's never been the check that fascinated me. Never. What fascinated me was only when a company said, "So after your training, our team is performing much better."
Fantastic. That must
That's the
maybe
only thing that used to, that comes to you as a big satisfaction.
yes.
Okay.
I
And
can
if
imagine.
if you found that the results are not coming up, and we've had cases where results didn't come up. I'll give
Right.
you one case like this, that one company came to me primarily with time management as an issue.
Yes.
And we're doing outbound trainings. I did a couple of activities with them, and I brought time consciousness through those activities. One activity, another activity reinforced what we did in the previous one,
Yeah.
and they went back very, very satisfied, highly acclaimed feedback to say, sir, we are now going to be on time. We are going to be, it's not talking about coming on time delivery, on time culture, all that. And then after about a month, and I have a habit of keeping in touch with my participants. So, I would say, how's it going? Tell me one change that you have seen happening in your team and all that. So this guy rings me up and he says, sir, I want to talk to you. I said, yeah, please go ahead. He said, sir, we came back very, very happy that we have learned about time. But sir, when I find situations where yesterday we had a meeting and we were told to be there at 10 o'clock. We were sitting in the boardroom at 10 o'clock and the MD came at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
So what time management can I do in a company where the MD comes 1 hour late and doesn't even apologize? He neither informs you that I'm not coming or I'll come late so that I can go back to my workplace and do my work. For 1 hour, we were sitting in the boardroom only gossiping. Now, if there were 10 people gossiping, it is 10 hours of that company, 10 hours, because
Yes.
10 people into 1 hour, 10 hours of that company resource got wasted.
Right.
Now,
Exactly.
in such a company, nothing will happen. Because, Nara, I say something in training that's very interesting. I said, the results don't come from what you learn. Success doesn't come from what you learn. It comes from what you do with what you learn.
Correct.
And if you don't do it, if it doesn't fit in your company culture, if the company culture doesn't support that, then you'll not get the results.
Right.
So
Fully agree.
I like to drive results, but I also like to see, and I can say that it is not only dependent on me, I can do my role. But if the other party is not prepared to implement and execute what they learned, nothing will happen.
True. And I want to, I'm so impressed again, I must say, from all the things that you have done and doing, and your transition from, from one, let's say, profession, and now you have moved on to, you have come on the TEDx platform. You have written books. I can see the book, one of your primary books at the back of you, The $1,000,000 Second. You have written
I'm
another
very
book.
proud of this was my first book, which I wrote called Design Your Life, which
Yes.
is now, being podcast by Spotify. And
Yes, I've listened to that, and I was so impressed. The stories that you've been telling on Zindagi, right?
Zindagi, it is called Zindagi Unplugged.
Yes,
Okay. And then this book, $1,000,000 Second, came, which is published by CNBC. You see the
right.
logo on the top.
Yes,
And
yes.
this book, I'm very proud to say that Brian Tracy endorsed it.
All right.
And he gave me a very good testimonial there, which says Sushil has developed a wonderful system of goal setting and time management that will transform your life and double your results. It is amazing.
Fantastic.
No,
Fantastic.
that comes from Brian Tracy, who's my guru, and I learned from him. So this book has been very good. It's a best-selling book, and it is, Nara. I must tell you one thing. I'm very proud to say 2, 3 things about this book. One is that it's got a little uniqueness that after every chapter, you see these blue lines.
Right.
This
Right.
is the chapter summary. So I
Okay.
just these are the major takeaways from this chapter. And
Right.
then there is a place where you have reflection and action. So you have to write down how did this chapter mean to you in your life, and
Yes.
then below you have to write down what actions will you take.
Right.
Okay, you have to do it chapter after chapter, and in the end of the book you have to write your notes. There's a place for notes, and then there is a place for you to write your massive action plan.
Map.
Now, if you do this properly, there is just no way that you will not change your life, because I am not changing your life myself. I am asking you to probe into your life and say, are you doing this? Would you like to do this better? So that means I'm actually creating a self consciousness of
Right.
becoming mindful of time.
Correct. Correct.
So
I,
this is
I,
something.
I speak about time management myself, so I can imagine your book is a major workbook, which is I would say contribute to super productivity.
Yeah. And then I've got, when I do my time management and productivity workshops, I do a productivity workshop, which has time management, goal setting, and productivity, three elements.
Fantastic.
And I have a workbook for that. So people have to keep writing their stuff as we go along.
Very good.
I also want to tell you one thing, that I claim to be the only author in the world who created an online community of all my readers. So
Okay.
in my book, a lot of, normally a book is a one-way communication. It's from the author to the reader. But in my case, it is not only a two-way communication, it's not between author and the reader and the author. By creating an online community, so we have written in the book that if you buy the book, please send me an email
Hmm.
and I will put you onto a community. So
Right.
we've got this community which called it the Time Investors League.
Okay.
Right? And now that you've joined my time management course, you will learn a lot about this, and you'll
Right.
also see my
Yeah,
workbook.
I'm looking forward to that. Yes.
So now what is going to happen is, so this community of time investors, I've got about 300 people, 250 people already, which have now finished one WhatsApp group, and we've got
Hmm.
a Facebook group also.
Okay.
So these people who buy my book come on that, and now they start exchanging ideas between them. So
Right.
there are some people who are from USA, there's a people from Africa, there are some people from UK, the people from India. So they keep interacting between themselves on various aspects of time. And then I went further to go and do one video every Wednesday and every Sunday on YouTube on time investment, and
Okay.
I've got that playlist called Time Brigadier.
Okay.
So the point is, this time investment has become now a part of my life where I'm wanting to do more and more in-depth study and share my ideas with people.
Right. I think that's amazing. That's one major contribution I think to that you have done or contributed to anyone who has come into contact with you. So I think they definitely walk away. What would be your next? What would be your future plans? What do you plan to do next? As you're already on a major pipeline to impact so many people. What are your next ambitions?
It's a work in progress. So I made a mission of my life. It's not my
Mhm.
book, but it's a mission of my life to create a time conscious society.
Right.
So working a lot on time management is my major focus.
Mhm.
So now I'd like to do all my corporate professional speaking gigs, as well as work master classes, as well as keynote speeches, everything, and training on time management itself.
Right.
So that is
Right.
one. And secondly, that I got fascinated with this online thing. So I created this program called Train the Online Trainer, which you have just finished with,
Right.
and you have experienced it. So this, we are going to keep improving it and do more and more batches of this.
Yes.
So these are the only two areas I'm trying to focus on.
Yeah.
I've been able to write three more books in this COVID-19 time. Just
Right.
in the last 3 months in the lockdown, I've been a co-author in three books.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And
Yeah, I've attended the TTOT, and I must say that was a major, major revelation for me. I think it has made a major impact to the way I do things, the way I actually treat, myself, and the confidence with which we go out into the digital
yeah,
arena. And I think that it's made a major, future productivity. I think is going to be improved. How do we react to people? How do we impact people? I think that's going to be, like you said, it's a
by your
meaningful community
by
that,
your
that
coming
actually.
onto this program, and Renita coming from Singapore, we are now looking at how to taking advantage of the online condition, that while restricted to India. So I want to go around with both these programs going more global. So
Yes.
I'm very happy that you came in, and from you now we're getting Malaysia and Vietnam and Thailand and
Yes.
Philippines. So expanding in other countries is another aim of mine, because if I'm talking about a time-conscious society, why should be restricted to India?
Sure.
And today the world has shrunk so much with
Yes.
internet, that we want to make an impact everywhere.
Yeah. I think when they talked about the borderless world in the past, this is the true definition of the borderless world. It has become so seamless,
Absolutely.
and it has brought everyone so much closer together. So I really want to thank you so much, Brigadier Sushil. I think you are such an inspiration, truly, and I can definitely say that from my own experience with you in the last few months. And I think anyone listening to the video, really, I would say get in touch with Brigadier Sushil Bhasin and find a way to get involved in the community, in the meaningful community, and become more conscious of time management.
Thank
So,
you very much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and it's been a great investment of time with you. Let's see that we reach out to more people, that they know that we are providing value, and
yes,
uh, we spread the message. It's a powerful message, which will, to my mind, create that time consciousness, which is a requirement. And particularly now, COVID has shown us where the entire world, while flattening the curve and all that, is actually
right,
really understanding the value of time. So let's continue with that spirit, and let's see how many people get impacted so that there is a better world to live in.
sure. Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate your time and look
Thank
forward to
you. Thank
catching
you
up
very
again
much
soon.
for this
Thank you.
time, and I'm very happy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.